What is Nirvana, the Buddhist journey to peace and liberation? Nirvana, in the context of Buddhism, refers to the ultimate liberation from suffering. The term originates from the ancient Pali word nibbana, which signifies extinction or blowing out, symbolizing the cessation of the inner fires that fuel human misery, greed, hatred, and delusion. According to the Buddha, Nirvana is a state of profound serenity, inner freedom, and unshakable joy. Unlike material pleasures, which are temporary and dependent on external circumstances, Nirvana is not conditioned by the fluctuations of worldly life. It lies beyond the reach of time, desire, and suffering. During the historical period in which the Buddha lived, the Indian subcontinent was home to various spiritual movements, many of which sought release from samsara, the endless cycle of birth and rebirth. However, their paths often involved severe self-denial and harsh asceticism. The Buddha offered an alternative. He proposed what he called the middle way, a path of moderation that steered clear of both indulgence and extreme austerity. Nirvana, for him, was not merely a philosophical idea, but a personal realization achieved through deep meditation beneath the Bodhi tree. This awakening formed the heart of his teaching. He once spoke of Nirvana with these words: "There is, monks, and unborn, unbecome, unmade, and unconditioned. Were there not, there would be no escape from the born, the become, the made, and the conditioned." With this, he pointed to a reality untouched by suffering and impermanence, a realm of absolute liberation. Nirvana also sets Buddhism apart from many other religious traditions. While some paths focus on union with a divine being or promise a reward in a heavenly realm, the Buddhist path centers on ending attachment and discovering a deep, enduring freedom within. Nirvana, a transformation of perception, not an escape. Nirvana is not about fleeing from the world. It's about reshaping the way we perceive and respond to it. The Buddha's teachings were rooted in practicality. Rather than engage in abstract philosophical debates, he focused on a fundamental question: what leads to suffering, and how can it be brought to an end? From this inquiry emerged a clear and structured path to inner peace, centered around the Four Noble Truths, an essential framework of the Buddha's insight. 1. Dukkha, life inevitably includes suffering, dissatisfaction, and impermanence. 2. Samadaya, this suffering arises from craving, clinging, and unwholesome desire. 3. Nirodha, there is a way for suffering to cease. This cessation is nirvana. 4. Magga, the path leading to the end of suffering, is the Noble Eightfold Path. Among these, the third noble truth is of special importance: the possibility of ending suffering. It affirms that nirvana is not a distant ideal but a state of release that comes when the fires of craving and ignorance are fully extinguished. The Noble Eightfold Path, a way to realize nirvana. Nirvana is not exclusive to renunciants or secluded mystics. It is open to all who follow the Eightfold Path, a set of practical steps for ethical living, mental development, and deep understanding. 1. Right view, seeing life clearly through the lens of the Four Noble Truths. 2. Right intention, nurturing thoughts grounded in compassion, self-restraint, and harmlessness. 3. Right speech, speaking truthfully, kindly, and meaningfully. 4. Right action, choosing conduct that respects life and avoids harm. 5. Right livelihood, working in a way that supports well-being without exploitation. 6. Right effort, cultivating positive mental states and abandoning harmful tendencies. 7. Right mindfulness, maintaining awareness and presence in each moment. 8. Right concentration, training the mind through deep meditation and focused stillness. These are not rigid commandments, but a path of inner cultivation. The Buddha emphasized that progress toward nirvana comes through sincere effort, steady practice, and clarity of heart. He likened this journey to that of an artisan, patiently refining their craft. Rather than describe nirvana in abstract or mystical terms, he used simple, evocative images, like a flame going out, or a person safely crossing a turbulent river. These metaphors capture the essence of what nirvana truly is: not escape, but profound peace and freedom. Nirvana beyond words, beyond thought. Nirvana is a concept that lies beyond the bounds of ordinary understanding. It is not a physical location, nor is it a mental state that can be fully described. Because it transcends conventional thinking, the Buddha often chose to explain it through imagery and suggestion rather than direct definition. He reminded his followers that nirvana is to be realized through experience, not through theory or speculation. To convey something so profound, the Buddha turned to metaphor. The extinguished flame, just as a flame goes out when deprived of fuel, the fires of greed, anger, and ignorance are extinguished when craving ends. This cessation is the heart of nirvana. The unconditioned nirvana is often described as unconditioned, meaning it does not arise due to causes and does not fade due to conditions. Unlike all things within samsara, it is not subject to change. The cool shade in the sweltering heat of suffering, nirvana is like stepping into a place of cool relief, calm, still, and free from distress. These images suggest what words cannot fully express: a state free from turmoil and untouched by the chaos of worldly life. One of the reasons nirvana is so difficult to grasp is because it involves the complete cessation of qualities we take for granted: attachment, illusion, and craving. To try to understand nirvana with a mind still bound by these forces is like trying to imagine light while enveloped in darkness. Recognizing this, the Buddha advised his disciples not to become entangled in philosophical debates about the nature of nirvana. Instead, he urged them to engage in direct practice, cultivating mindfulness and releasing clinging to the past or future. In his words, do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment. This emphasis highlights the experiential and practical nature of the Dhamma. To further guide practitioners, the Buddha explained that nirvana can be seen in two aspects. Sopadishasa nirvana, liberation achieved while still living. The fires of desire and ignorance have been extinguished, but the physical body and life continue until natural death. Parinirvana, the final liberation that occurs upon the death of an enlightened being. Since there are no remaining causes for rebirth, the cycle of existence ends completely. These distinctions reveal that the essence of nirvana can be known in this very life, through personal effort and realization. Final freedom comes when all physical existence ceases. The gradual path to liberation. The path to nirvana is not achieved in a single moment. It unfolds gradually through disciplined training, self-reflection, and moral transformation. The Buddha outlined 3 essential pillars that support this journey. 1. Sila, ethical conduct, a foundation of moral integrity and responsible action. 2. Samadhi, concentration, the cultivation of mental clarity and focus. 3. Prajna, wisdom, deep understanding that cuts through delusion. These elements are not separate but interwoven. Ethical conduct provides the stability for concentration. Concentration supports the clarity needed for wisdom. Living ethically is the first step. The Buddha emphasized 5 precepts as daily guidelines for lay practitioners. To refrain from harming any living being. To refrain from taking what is not freely given. To refrain from false or harmful speech. To refrain from misconduct in relationships. To refrain from intoxicants that cloud the mind. By following these precepts, one cultivates peace within and around them, laying the groundwork for deeper meditative states and liberating insight. Once this moral base is firm, the next stage is concentration, where the practitioner learns to still the mind and focus it fully, nurturing the mind toward liberation. The Buddha often compared the mind to water. When agitated, it becomes murky and confused, but when still, it becomes clear and reflective. This stillness is achieved through practices like mindfulness, satipatthana, and deep meditative absorption, jhana. As the mind settles, insight into reality naturally arises. At the heart of the Buddhist path is wisdom, the clear, direct understanding of the way things truly are. This includes the realization of impermanence, anicca. All things are subject to change and decay. Suffering, dukkha, attachment, and craving inevitably bring dissatisfaction. Non-self, anatta. There is no unchanging, independent self at the core of experience. Such wisdom is not acquired through abstract philosophy, but arises from direct experience and deep observation cultivated through meditation. The path to nirvana integrates three elements harmoniously: ethical discipline, mental concentration, and wisdom. Each supports the others. Ethics brings stability, concentration sharpens clarity, and wisdom reveals truth. The Buddha encapsulated this process with a timeless teaching. Avoid what is harmful, cultivate what is wholesome, and purify the mind. This is the path taught by all Buddhas. By following this path with sincerity and persistence, one moves ever closer to the realization of inner peace and ultimate freedom. To truly appreciate what nirvana is, it is essential to understand what it is not. Many common misunderstandings can distort the Buddha's message. Throughout his teaching, he clarified these misconceptions, emphasizing that nirvana is not a theory, but an experience to be realized. 1. Nirvana is not annihilation. A widespread misunderstanding is that nirvana equals the total destruction of the self, a kind of spiritual void or oblivion. Because nirvana entails the end of rebirth and craving, some interpret it as total non-existence. But the Buddha rejected both extremes: eternalism, the belief in an everlasting soul, and nihilism, the belief in nothingness after death. He taught a middle way. I teach only suffering and the end of suffering. Nirvana is not the end of being, but the end of suffering and its causes. 2. Nirvana is not a place. Another misconception is viewing nirvana as a heavenly realm, a paradise to reach after death. While understandable, this view misrepresents the Buddha's teachings. Nirvana is not a destination in space or time. It is a state of liberation. When a flame is extinguished, we do not ask where it went. Similarly, when greed, hatred, and delusion are extinguished, nirvana is what remains. It is beyond all spatial or material concepts. 3. Nirvana is not eternal bliss. Some imagine nirvana as a never-ending state of joy or emotional euphoria. While nirvana is indeed peaceful and free from suffering, it is not a form of sensory pleasure. It transcends both pleasure and pain, joy and sorrow. The Buddha was cautious not to define nirvana in terms that could provoke further craving. Rather than being a feeling, it is the complete freedom from clinging and desire. Why these misunderstandings arise? These errors often occur because the human mind attempts to comprehend nirvana using familiar concepts. But nirvana lies outside the conditioned world. As the Buddha said, trying to define it is like describing the taste of salt to someone who has never tasted it. Only through direct experience can it be understood. The transformative nature of nirvana. Nirvana is not merely an abstract goal or distant ideal. It transforms the very way one lives and perceives the world. The Pali Canon recounts numerous stories of individuals who experienced profound change after realizing nirvana. One powerful example is Angulimala, a feared outlaw who had once terrorized entire regions. After encountering the Buddha, his heart changed. He gave up violence, became a monk, and ultimately reached nirvana. This story serves as a profound reminder: no matter how troubled one's past, transformation is always possible through the Dhamma. After his own enlightenment, the Buddha embodied this transformation. Freed from craving and delusion, he became a living example of equanimity and compassion. For 45 years, he traveled, taught, and guided all who sought the path, always responding with wisdom and understanding. His tireless compassion illustrates that nirvana is not a selfish escape, but a state that inspires boundless love and service. The fruits of realization. Achieving nirvana does more than end personal suffering. It reshapes one's entire relationship with life. According to the ancient texts, those who attain nirvana experience a freedom from fear without clinging to identity or possessions. There is no fear of loss or death. An unshakable peace. The mind becomes stable, no longer disturbed by fleeting emotions. Universal compassion with self-centered concerns dissolved. Kindness flows freely toward all beings. These qualities are not reserved for monks or enlightened sages alone. Laypeople who walk the path with diligence can also experience profound levels of peace and clarity in daily life. While full realization may be rare, even a glimpse of nirvana's truth can change one's life forever. Every mindful breath, every act of kindness, every moment of ethical choice, Each is a step toward the freedom that Nirvana represents. The Buddha did not ask us to leap into perfection, but to walk the path patiently and sincerely. Like water filling a vessel drop by drop, transformation unfolds steadily. Nirvana is not merely the end of suffering. It is a profound shift in being. It invites us to meet life not with resistance or grasping, but with clarity, compassion, and deep inner stillness. Even amid modern chaos, the timeless wisdom of the Buddha shows us a way to live with purpose, to let go of what binds us, and to find peace right where we are. You don't need to withdraw from the world to touch the essence of Nirvana. With mindfulness in your steps, loving kindness in your heart, and wisdom in your gaze, liberation begins here, in this moment. If this message touched something within you, take a moment to pause and reflect. Let the teachings guide your next breath, your next choice. Begin where you are. Practice with sincerity. Walk the path. If you'd like to continue exploring these timeless teachings, consider subscribing to the Buddhism Answers podcast. Share this episode with a friend who may find peace in these words. And remember, the journey to Nirvana begins not in some far-off land, but in the heart, in the now.